Hello and welcome to Prophecy in the News. I'm your host, Dr. Kevin Clarkson, and I'm joined today by evangelist Dan Goodwin.
Good to be with you, Brother Kevin, again.
Hey, it is great to have you, brother. And let me mention on the top end of this show that you'll be with us at our Prophecy Conference that's coming up in Colorado Springs.
In Colorado. Looking forward to it.
Lovely, cool Colorado during the hot month of August. I think the days are 6th, 7th, and 8th. And we're having that conference at the Marriott Hotel on Tech Center Drive. You know, folks, for a mere $90 can get 3 days worth of all the prophecy teaching that they can take in.
And what a better way to spend a vacation. Take your vacation and come to Colorado.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
We've got over 20 speakers lined up, Dan. I'll be there, of course, so you'll be there. Jerome Corsi will be there. Joseph Farah will be there. A host of our friends. Bob Cornuke, who lives near there, will be sharing about the location of the temple. He's come up with perhaps an alternate site and a lot of compelling evidence. Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor Russ Dizdar, teaching about spiritual warfare. Our good friend evangelist Gary Frazier from Texas will be with us, and Doug and Joe Hagman, and on. We've just got a great number of speakers. So check it out. You can register by going to our website or calling the 800 number on your screen. Well, hey, let's talk about this fall. We are in year 2015, in the year of our Lord, as we count years, and we've got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Tell us,
sure do. And you know
what you're noticing.
Some of us prophecy guys have been used to talk about 2015 coming in the future.
Yes,
now
we're here.
Now we're here.
We're on it.
And of course, everything happens, biblically speaking, in the fall. I mean, if
now, why do you say that?
Well, because of the seven feasts.
All right.
The seven feasts, God's prophetic calendar, I call it, in Leviticus 23. There are seven feasts: Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost. Those are the first four spring feasts.
Right.
They have all been fulfilled. They're done.
They're done.
They're still there for our learning and
edification. You mean they've been
prophetically fulfilled
with
by
the,
Christ.
Death, burial, resurrection of Christ.
And then the pouring out of the Holy Spirit on Pentecost. They've all been
fulfilled.
Church age. Now, there's 3 feasts left, but they're fall feasts.
Yes, they are.
They all happen in the month, on the Jewish calendar.
And they mark the end of the harvest.
Right, and they take place in the month Tishri, which is usually September, sometimes October, on our calendar. Those 3 feasts, which is Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, and Day of Atonement, they call it Yom Kippur, and then Tabernacles. Those 3 feasts have not yet been fulfilled. And they're all fall feasts. So that's why I say everything that we're looking for is in the fall. So it's getting ready to happen. And so very interesting what's going on today. And maybe I can just give you a couple things. The next thing I see on the calendar coming up is September 13th. September 13th is the evening before this Feast of Trumpets.
It's New Year's Eve.
Right. It's New Year's Eve. It's 6 p.m. Of course, their calendar begins, each day begins at sundown, 6 p.m.
morning with the first day.
So it's 6 p.m. instead of midnight like on our calendar. Their day starts at 6 p.m. So, of course, if you've read The Harbinger, Jonathan Cahn's book, you understand the sabbatical year, the Shemitah. That's going to end. The release date is September 13th on our calendar. And it's Elul 29 on the Jewish calendar, right before Feast of Trumpets, a minute before is that release date. So that's coming up. And that, by the way, that's a Sunday. Of course, Brother Kahn talks about the stock market crash 2 times in a row. It's happened, 2001, 2008, on that exact day.
On the exact date.
That exact date is September 13th. But that's a Sunday.
So let's walk it back to the market on Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon is what? September 11th. 9/11. So if it's going to happen a third time, there you have it. So nobody's saying for sure that it's going to happen. It might happen a week before. It might happen next week. But I think it's pretty plain something's coming with that, with the financial mess that we're in. So that's coming up, September 13th. That's something to watch. And, of course, September 11th, Friday. I would be watching that very closely if I was a listener to this program. So after, by the way, September 13th, something else, a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse on September 13th.
Solar, not a blood moon.
Right, not a blood moon.
A solar eclipse.
We'll get to that in a second.
Right.
The solar eclipse on September 13th. And the next thing I see on the calendar, of course, we're still on the 13th and 14th.
And in
September
the
14th is Tishri 1, which is Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets on the Jewish calendar. Of course, that's a type prophetically of the rapture, Feast of Trumpets.
The trumpet shall sound.
Trump shall sound, the dead in Christ shall
be
rise
raised.
first, and we which alive remain shall be caught up. And you see the trumpet in Revelation 4:1 also. After these things, and behold, the door was opened in heaven. I heard as it were a trumpet saying, "Come up hither." And that's the rapture.
And John says he was caught up,
Caught
and transported.
up. And he sees the throne and him that sat on the seven-sealed book in his hand. It's the rapture. So that's coming up September 14th this year. That's not so far away. By the way, the month after our conference in Colorado
Right.
is September. Very interesting. All right, so let's move on. The next thing I see is still in September 23rd. That's 10 days later. September 13th to September 23rd. It's 10 days later, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. That's the Jews' most holy day. Now, that's the sixth feast. Fifth feast is Rosh Hashanah.
Right.
And then the sixth feast on the Jewish calendar is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And that's coming up. By the way, the Day of Atonement is that day once every 49 years where the trumpet is sound for the Jubilee. And the Jubilee is when all the property goes back to the original owner.
So the trumpet for the Jubilee call would be on the Day of Atonement.
Right, it sure would.
All right.
And I believe with all my soul, I believe Christ comes back on the white horse, Revelation 19. I believe he comes back on that day. I believe the Jubilee is when Christ comes back with us, with the saints in heaven, back to the earth, to the mountain of olives. Of course, he ends the Battle of Armageddon.
Right.
It takes about a second. We don't even get to draw any blood, but he's going to end the Battle of Armageddon, just like that. Go straight to the mountain of olives on the white horse. Remember, 2,000 years ago, he was there on the donkey.
Right.
This time, going to be a little I'm going to say a little different. This is going to be a lot different. He's coming back not as a lowly, humble man on a donkey. He's coming back as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He's coming
with many crowns,
right.
diadems.
And he's coming, he's going to ride down that Kidron Valley and ride right into that eastern gate, and he's going to take over. Amen. Going to take over the planet.
Amen.
In his hand will be the title deed to this planet, the seven-sealed scroll that we see in Revelation 5. That's what the tribulation's all about.
Yeah.
He's going to redeem planet Earth and take possession of it. So Yom Kippur, September 23rd. And interesting that this day on our calendar is day number 266. We were talking about this earlier. Did you know it's 266 days from conception to the time that the baby is delivered?
The human baby.
266 days. That just
Okay.
happens to be September 23rd this year. And does that mean anything? I don't know, but it's interesting, isn't it? There's something else very interesting here I want to share with your viewers here. The number 2520 in the Bible is very interesting. And I have a chapter in the Jubilee book, God's Final Jubilee. I have a chapter called 2520. Very important chapter. I've never read anything anywhere where anybody has done what I did in there. But what I discovered is the tribulation period, Daniel's 70th week, is not measured in years as we measure years.
Right.
It's measured in days and months. And I give several scriptures in the book, in Revelation and Daniel, where it talks about 42 months and 42 months. That's 3.5 years. But then he narrows it down. And he says the first half is 1,260 days. The second half is 1,260 days. You add those two halves together, it's 2,520 days. Now there's something interesting here. If you go back to 1967, remember the Six-Day War with Israel? Miraculous war. On the 7th of June, during the Six-Day War, on June 7th, Israel retook Jerusalem and gained possession of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is important. I personally believe 1948, May 15th, when the United Nations gave Israel the property, gave them their homeland, and they became a nation again, I believe that's where the fig tree took root. I believe the fig tree budded when they got Jerusalem during the Six-Day War.
Okay.
Now, that's my opinion. It's worth whatever it's worth.
Yeah. Do you have any thought for that besides distinguishing those two events that we're talking about, or is it because of the capture of the city versus
Right.
the nation? Is
I
that
think-
kind of why you're separating
the United Nations
the root
gave
from the
them,
blooming?
Right. I think because Jesus said, when you see the fig tree bud,
Right.
know that the generation alive at that time shall not pass off the scene.
Till all these things be
Right.
fulfilled.
So when a fig tree takes root, it's not budding yet.
Right.
And I think how is Israel budding without Jerusalem? I mean, Jerusalem's it.
Yeah,
It's
true.
the city on the in the
That's
whole
very
entire
true.
world. That means it's the center of the world. It's
Center of the
everything.
earth. Uh-huh.
And he says 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the holy city. Well, that's not New York City.
No.
That's not Rome. That's not Washington D.C. It's not Baghdad. it's Jerusalem.
Right.
Important place. By the way, everybody wants Jerusalem. Everybody wants Israel because there's a lot of wealth there. It's the center of the world, and everybody wants it. But it's the holy city. So, but that back to the 2520. On June 7th, 1967, and this is interesting. On that day, when you go forward to our day right now, this fall, September 23rd, did you know that it's exactly to the day 2,520 weeks? Right to the day. I don't mean 25, 20 and a half. Exactly to the day, 2,520 weeks from June 7th, 1967 to the Day of Atonement in September 23rd.
This year.
Right. Not only that, it is exactly 49 biblical prophetic years. I'm talking about 360-day years, the way God counts years. 360-day years. 49 of them, it's exactly 49 years to the day. In fact, it's the same day. It's Wednesday to Wednesday. 49 years later, the same day of the week, Wednesday and Wednesday. And it's exactly 49 years from June 7th, 1967 to Day of Atonement, September 23rd. Now, what happens on the Day of Atonement? Every 49 years. Jubilee.
Right.
So it's almost like Israel gets back in there, they get Jerusalem back, and a Jubilee cycle starts.
And I may need to back up and fill in the blank for somebody that is maybe scratching their head, because if they're doing the math and you're saying June 6th to
June
September 23rd, June 7th to September 23rd, they're going, wait a minute, how's that a year? And you've already said it, but just restate again, we're working with a lunar calendar.
Right, a 360-day calendar that God... See, there's really three
Jewish
calendars.
calendar.
We got the Jewish calendar. There's 354 days on it. We got a problem there, too.
All right.
Our calendar has 365 and a fourth. But there's a better calendar.
We'll
It's
split
God's
the difference,
calendar.
right?
God's calendar is a perfect 360-day earth.
Like the number of degrees in a circle.
Right, and it's perfect. And, of course, the tribulation period, the 70th week, is measured in perfect 360-day years. And that's how you get 1,260 days in the first half. It's 3.5 years.
Right.
But it's not exactly 3.5 years. But if you use God's 360-day number, it's exactly 1,260
It arrived
days.
at this
Right.
Day of Atonement.
But isn't it interesting that 49 years right to the day, 49 years, I mean a Jubilee period, 49 years, right to the day from the time they took Jerusalem to the time that the Day of Atonement, not just a normal day, a Day of Atonement, which is the day in Leviticus 25 that every 49th year, your listeners can look it up, Leviticus 25, every 49th year, 7 cycles of 7 sabbatical years, 49 years, you sound the trumpet of the Jubilee on the Day of Atonement. Well, that Day of Atonement, a Day of Atonement, is coming up this year, September 23rd. There's something else interesting. By the way, of course, the 266 days on our calendar.
Right.
It's day number 266. That's from the time of conception to the time that a baby is delivered, 266 days. Is there something there? Sure, probably. And but not only that, guess what's going to happen on that day in Washington, D.C.? The Pope is going to be in Washington. Not only in Washington, he's going to be at the White House with the President on the Day of Atonement, September 23rd this year. On the Day of Atonement.
Fascinating.
Now, what does all this mean? I don't know what it all means, but it's very interesting what's going on in the world. Now, the last thing on our list here that I wrote down here, September 28th, 5 days later. The
is
day
that third feast.
Is the third feast, the last of the 7 feasts, the Feast of Tabernacles, and of course, the blood red moon. The fourth and final blood moon of the Tetrad takes place on that day. Something different about that one, by the way. That fourth blood moon of the Tetrad, that's going to take place on that day, September 28th, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, which is a type prophetically of the kingdom age, the 1,000-year reign of Christ here on the earth. And that fourth blood moon, there's something different about it. First of all, it's a supermoon, which simply means, if you look it up on your computer,
close to the earth.
It's closer to the earth than normal. So it
Looks so
appears
large.
bigger. And the second thing, and maybe more important, this is the only blood moon of the 4 blood moons of the tetrad. This is the only one that would be visible to people on the streets of Jerusalem. I think that's interesting.
That's really significant.
So these are all crazy things that are happening and getting ready to happen.
I know there are a lot of differences of opinion about the meaning of the blood moons, and we've not talked super in depth, but I think we both feel that those are a special portent for the nation of Israel.
Right.
And to think that this one is going to be visible there in the streets of Jerusalem, very low to the sky, and then turning tinged copper blood.
Yeah.
That's got to be a word for Israel. And Dan, only God knows. We're not saying this is the day of the rapture or anything. This could be the fact that a great war erupts that involves Israel and the Middle East. It could be a number of things. But God is riding large in the sky to get our attention.
Right. There's been, of course, 2 solar eclipses. One's yet to come.
Yes.
September 13th, and the second one of this season.
Do you know if that was going to be visible in the United States?
I don't know. I don't
I've
I don't
looked that
spend
up
as much
before,
time
but I'm
on
not
them as some
remembering
do.
today. Yes.
You got Mark Biltz out there with that, and Hagee and others that have written whole books on that. I put a chapter in my books called Signs in the Heavens, and I wouldn't know how to write a whole book on it, but I put a chapter in there, and of course I joke about it. I had an advantage. I got to read what the critics were saying. When I wrote my chapter, I got to read what the brethren were all saying. There, a lot of folks criticize this stuff, and
Yes.
let me just give you an example. Israel becomes a nation in 1948. The blood moon wasn't until 1949 and 1950. So what the critic does, he says, well, the blood moons happened in 1949, and Israel becomes a nation in 48. I guess God was off a year, and they'll laugh,
Yes.
they're mocking it. You know what? When I wrote my chapter, I looked at that. So, well, let me see what I can find out. What I found out was this. Israel became a nation, yes, May 15th, I think, 1948, but they weren't much, and they went right to war.
They were declared a nation by the United Nations.
But in 1949, they actually seated their government and got a seat on the United Nations. In 1949, I say God wasn't off a bit.
God was never off.
The
That's
second
right.
one that they criticize is Christopher Columbus in 1492, I guess. You know what? My opinion, your folks can think what they want of Christopher Columbus. I don't think he had anything to do with the blood moon. The blood moon happened in 1493 and 1494. So the same critics will say, well, I guess God was off on his math again. And they'll laugh and they're mocking, What I found out was in 1493, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, I guess his name was.
Ferdinand.
Whatever, I can't say it, but I can't roll
you're
my
from
tongue.
Tennessee, that's all right.
I'm from Maine, and now I'm a transplant in Kentucky. I can't say those Greek words.
Yeah.
But what happened in 1493 was more important to what we understand about the Bible than. And by the way, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. He discovered the West Indies. But anyway, and he discovered the world was not square. It was round. So anyway, we already knew that because the Bible told us the world was round, the circle of the earth. But anyway, all that aside, I hate to ruin our teaching from our childhood about Christopher Columbus and all the stuff we've been taught. But the real history lesson here is what happened in 1493 with Israel. Queen Isabella and Ferdinand gave them, I think it was 40 days to pack their bags and get out of Dodge. Now, that's pretty big, isn't it? Now, we're talking about Spain now.
Yeah.
And they gave them 40 days. We want the Jews out of here. See, it's always been about the Jew. History is about
Jewish
God
people.
and the Jews for the most part.
Well, the history of the nations, Israel's the firstborn of the nations.
And they're hated. Why are they hated? They're hated because they brought Christ into the world. They're hated because Jesus was a Jew.
They brought the
scriptures and a whole list of other things. They're hated. And by the way, they're hated now by America. America has turned their back on the Jews.
Yes.
So So the blood moons, I think I had the advantage of reading some of the critics and whatnot, and there's some more too, but I think I answered those critics' questions in my chapter, and I just very simply wrote about the blood moons. And by the way, I didn't take Mark Biltz's word for it or John Hagee. To be honest, I haven't even read their books. I've seen some videos and whatnot, but I went to the NASA website just like Mark Biltz said he did. I said, well, I want to be a good steward of knowledge and writing a book. I made sure. I found out Mr. Biltz was right. All the dates that he gave and the feast and the tabernacles and Passover and all that, he was right on the money on all that. Now, the only thing your listeners, your viewers have got to decide is what does it mean?
Right.
Because the scientific evidence is right. Mark Biltz is right about the 2 feast dates and all these years through history. This is the 8th time in 2,000 years that this has happened.
That there have been 4 within a 2-year sequence.
And by the way, there's no pattern. I've looked for a pattern.
There's no kind of mathematical
right, like every 500
regularity.
years.
There's not.
I mean, there's one time there's like 500 years between it, and then there's like 1949 and 50, and then 1967 and 68. Apart. So where's the pattern? This is a miracle of God.
This is just God.
Now, your viewers have got to decide what all this means. Now, here's to me what it all means. You've got the blood moons all happening. You've got these feast dates. You've got 49 years from June 7th, 1967 to now.
Year of release.
You got You got Jonathan Cahn's book. You got the sabbatical year ending here, and the release date, and the stock market crash of the last 2 cycles, and then now you got all this other stuff happening. You got the Jubilee. That's what my book's about. God's final Jubilee. The next Jubilee on the calendar, which might be this fall, is number 70. Now, what is the Jubilee all about? It's about God coming back to reclaim what was His, the planet. It's about the title deed. It's about redeeming the planet and coming back and taking it. Now, in 1967, it's very possible, and a lot of Jews believe this, that was a Jubilee year. If it was, go back 50 years from that to the 1917. And we don't have time to get into all that. I think we've done that on the program before, but General Allenby. They took Jerusalem in 1917, right at the end of World War I. They took Jerusalem without firing a shot. Miraculous what happened. It's all in the book.
And it was recovered.
So in 1917, if that's a Jubilee year, God gives Jerusalem to the Christian nation of the world at that time, which was Great Britain. 50 years later, God gives Jerusalem to those who He gave it to.
The Jewish people.
The Jews.
50 years
later, either this fall or next fall,
2017,
God comes back and He's the original owner. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. He's the original owner, and He comes back with the title deed to the planet in His hand on the white horse, comes to the Mountain of Olives, rides into the city, and takes possession of the planet, takes possession of Jerusalem. God's final Jubilee. And I asked people, I said, do you think there'll be 71 Jubilees? You know, people look at you funny like, no, I don't think so. Do you think there'll be 70 and a half? No, the Jubilee is God coming back with the title deed in His hand to reclaim the planet. This thing's going to be perfect. Now, I'm not saying the rapture's this fall. I'm saying it could be.
Yeah.
It could be tomorrow. But personally, I believe the rapture's a fall. It's harvest is in the fall. And I mean, every farmer knows that. Harvest is in the fall. I believe that we're at the end of this thing. I believe the Lord's coming back soon. I believe all these things are shining, like you said a while ago, a light shining. The 4 blood moons are God trying to tell us something. And the Shemitah year and the Jubilee and the stuff going on in Washington, D.C. Look, we've got Jade Helm 15. Your listeners need to Google that. Jade Helm 15. That's our government this year, July 15th to August 15th, holding military and police drills in our nation. And a lot of people got questions about it. And 7 states of our nation, this is getting ready to happen this fall, this summer and this fall again. All kinds of things going on in the world. So
that connects with what you mentioned earlier about martial law.
Right.
We said that there may be a chance for these riots going on to turn to such unrest and such uncertainty that martial law is declared, and then we are already rolling out with military exercises.
Right.
Something is in the air.
Something is. I mean, like I say, everything's getting ready to change. And I mean, compared to what things were like when I was a kid, things have already changed. But we ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
This thing's really getting ready to change. I mean, we might see some of it before the rapture. We might see some bad times. And but I'm telling you, things are getting ready to change and change fast, and we better be ready for it.
Well, our guest is Dan Goodwin, and I apologize. A moment ago I said you were from Tennessee. You must have felt insulted.
It's close. It's
Kentucky,
right on the border there.
You're sitting atop Tennessee.
Right.
You're above Tennessee. So that's great. But Dan, you've got an incredible set of teachings on this, and now they're available on DVD, God's Final, Jubilee, and we're offering your DVD set. I think it's got 6 discs with over 6 hours of teaching along the lines we've been speaking of, plus some newer stuff that we've shared here. But we're making that available to you for $39.95 plus shipping and handling. If you'd like to have the DVD set and the book, God's Final Jubilee, we have them together in a package for $49.95 plus shipping and handling. And you just need to call the 800 number there on your screen or go to our website, prophecyinthenews.com, and we'll be glad to fill that order for you. Well, in just the final few moments that we have, just maybe tell our viewers, you're an evangelist. Tell us what the bottom line is. You know, the Lord is not slow concerning His promise. He's not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to salvation.
Right. And the bottom line, if I can say it like a prophecy preacher, is Christ is getting ready to come back for His bride. Jesus is the groom. It's a beautiful story. In fact, it's on one of the discs in the DVD set. Jesus is getting ready to come back to get His bride. Now, who's His bride? The saved people. If you've never trusted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, I'd like to encourage you today to do that. If you're not sure how to do that, if you're not sure how to be saved, call the number. I'm sure somebody here at Prophecy News would love to talk to you, or if you get the book, call me up or email me. I'd love to share with you. But that's what this is all about. We've got to be saved. And Jesus is getting ready to come back for His bride. And I hope that you're part of that bride.
Well, thank you, brother. God designed all of history to exalt His Son and prepare a bride for her. And we want you to know Jesus. That's the heartbeat of our ministry. That's the heartbeat of God. And so we bless you in that and pray for you. Pray for us. Keep looking up. I want to be sure to invite you to our upcoming prophecy conference. It's going to be in wonderful, beautiful Colorado Springs this August 6th and 7th and 8th. Boy, I tell you, August here where I live is a hot month, and Colorado Springs is a great, cool place. We're going to be in a lovely hotel, the Marriott there on Tech Center Drive. We're going to have an incredible lineup of speakers. Many of them helped us in Florida. Some of the headliners are going to be Bob Cornuke, Jerome Corsi, Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor Russ Dizdar, Joseph Farah, very well-known, recognizable names. We would love for you to join us. The registration cost is only $90 for the conference. What a deal. 3 days of solid biblical prophetic teaching and a chance together with believers from all over. You need to call us and register for this, and we would love to have you do that. The number is 800-475-1111 or prophecyinthenews.com on our website. Thank you.